when you know how good a result could be. Sometimes from the heat, it moves and we create a bit of the gap that I was experiencing here. So I will show you how to do that. It's very effective. Yeah, just fill your tanks before you're soldering. We have that blue sheen on top. We have blue sheen on the bottom. Like, what else you need? Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. I want to show you a very beautiful moonstone ring. You know, moonstone gives a bit of magic all the time. I actually bought the stone from gemstone market when I was in Rome. I love the rawness when the stone has that inside life, you know, and this one has a corner as well, which is more complicated when you want to play with moonstones and they have a corner. So we have a teardrop shape of the moonstone, so be careful of the corners if you want to play with moonstones and with corners. That's a tricky task. And when we have imperfections like this moonstone has, it was a risky task. I keep it in this beautiful box as well. Like, look at that. That moonstone is just popping, you know? It's just popping. It's so pretty. I still haven't put that in my store, but it's coming. So we're creating a beautiful bezel setting, which will have an open bottom for this gorgeous teardrop shaped moonstone. It's so tasty. That blue sheen, come on. Like, it does all the talking, and you don't want to overwhelm it. When it comes to jewelry, I always say the simpler, the better. We're kind of creating very beautiful basic ring. But if you know the basics well, and if you're soldering well, if you clean your job well, that piece becomes exquisite. Here, we're focusing to keep everything sharp. Our bezel setting has to be perfect. Split shank ring, can't lose the shape in the process as well. So this one is everything about nailing your skills, about checking how well you can make that kind of basic ring. And it doesn't mean that basic is simple. Sometimes basic shapes and basic stuff takes way more time than fancier one. Yeah, so you know, we have to work for a beautiful result, but come on. When you know how good a result could be, it's worthy to work for. And that band with that stone is just like such a perfect combo. We have that blue sheen on top, we have blue sheen on the bottom. Like, what else you need? I put a video on my YouTube channel about polishing, and this example will show you exactly what I was talking about, because here we have engraved band. We're using different brushes for it. We're using different directions when we're polishing the ring as well. So yeah, all the good stuff as always. I will take you through all of the process of making and try to give you as much information as I can give you. And I will show you how I'm polishing that in-between part when we have that split shank ring, because you don't want to ruin the band and you want to have a beautiful gap in between. So I will show you how to do that. It's very effective. Different jewelry piece wants different polishing or sanding solutions. So yeah, I will talk about that more in this video, and I think we have to start this. We're starting everything by cutting a bezel wire for our beautiful moonstone. And I always make wider bezel wire because I need to sand, I need to correct stuff. We're sometimes soldering and having imperfections in the band as well. We need to have material to play around with. And I create my corners with my pliers. If you saw my videos, you know how I do. I always prepare corner first. This way it's easier to wrap the stone in general. You will never end up with connecting your bezel wire near the corner, which you don't want to have because it's the weakest place of the setting, and we don't want to have very close soldering mark there. And now we're soldering a bezel setting. I'm showing you full time without any rushing, just you would have idea how long it takes to heat up your band and actually make that solder to melt. Usually I like to put my solder pieces under my setting because we have the weight of the setting. That piece will never fly away. and the pressure will make it melt even better. And as always, we have to prepare flat bottom of our band. Just we could connect it, solder it with the plate because we need full setting, right? After the sanding, we want to check if the stone is still fitting because sometimes you're pushing the wire and it's changing the shape. You might end up with not fitting stone after soldering the bezel band with the sheet itself. So always make sure that you're fitting with the stone after sanding your bottom. Now we're connecting our bezel wire with the sheet itself. I always place as smallest solder chips I can, thinnest, smallest one around inside of my bezel wire, that it would touch with the sheet and with the bezel wire where I need the solder would be melting. We need that touching because solder will melt and it will be like a blob. So if you don't want a blob, just make sure you're touching both sides of that bezel setting. And we're moving around, and of course mesh would have been better for this occasion, but I started to film and I was like, okay, I will play with that dip that I have in the charcoal block that I could create more heat under, but put the mesh under, it's way better. Now we want to cut the bottom because for the moonstone you want to have open space. So here you can be as creative as you can be. If you like flower designs, if you like leaf designs, you can create a beautiful art there as well. I chose the plain way because I love to see the blue and I want the biggest space for me to see it. Just to clean and prepare the edges, we can use a file, and I'm moving with my file sometimes like this just to burnish it, just to burnish with the file and take material out. You can burnish with burnishing tools, not only when you're setting the stone, but actually when you want to prepare the lines and in general just to have a beautiful edge. And we want to prepare our bottom part of the bezel setting because when we will solder the band with a bezel setting, it will be harder to reach areas. We prepared a beautiful bezel setting and we're jumping to create a split shank ring. And I'm happy to announce that this video is sponsored by GRANDE, which is a big jewelry supply store I'm buying lots of tools and supplies from silver, tools, equipment, stones even. You can find various things for your jewelry creation. And they're giving you a code with $20 off of your shipping price. Thank you, GRANDE, for sponsoring this video. Now we're creating a split shank ring. So for that, we need 2 bands, exactly the same size of the ring. Here I'm doing that with my ring bender. If you don't have a ring bender, I truly recommend that one. It saves everything, the wrists, the hands, and you get way better results while you're bending this way because you're controlling fully how much it bends, and look at the shape. It looks perfect. Okay, kind of perfect already. But it's way easier to keep the same size because we're cutting where we're wrapping that around. It's very easy to cut it with the saw. Always use the saw blade that you need for the thickness of the metal. I always say that. And we have a beautiful new product of saw blade dispenser that it would help very well to do these tasks. Technically, you saw that already. It was in my 3rd vlog video. I finally received the final version and can't wait to show you. It's so good. Now when we have both rings cut, we need to connect those bands. We're doing that with the pliers, with the pressure, playing with a spring back. But still, we have to come back and saw it again just to have a perfect connection, that flush cut. You always have to check both sides of the ring that you're not overlapping with your wire. That's extremely important. Now when we have them perfectly connected, we're soldering. This time I'm placing solder not under because we have quite thick band here. Sometimes when you're placing under, for solder it takes longer time to climb and fill all the gap. So I'm placing few small solder chips on top and in between of the seam and soldering it that way. Just be careful not to burn your solder chip if you want to put that on your band. So we're moving carefully with the fire and heating that ring up until we have a beautiful solder melt. Same thing we're doing with the second ring. You can play around with soldering, like choose the ways that is more comfortable to you. Maybe you're soldering with balls. Sometimes I'm do that too when I'm soldering bands. It truly depends on my soldering mood sometimes. So yeah, just choose technique that is working for that day or working for you. It's truly very subjective when it comes to these things. I'm just showing you the easiest ways and alternatives that you could use. And same with sanding. Here I'm using my own mandrel that I did from wet and dry paper. It's the cheapest way how you can sand. And here, direction of inside of the ring has to be going with lines around. So we don't want to sand it in the way that our lines wouldn't be connecting together. We want round. And you're going evenly around the ring. You're not taking material out in some spaces because we want to have even thick band. Now we're just correcting the band on the mandrel. I'm doing that while I'm spinning it with my fingers. If you don't want to make the size bigger, be careful how you're hammering on the mandrel because you don't want to push it down too much. You will make the ring bigger. We're using a rawhide mallet hammer. Because of that, we don't want to spread the ring. We want to keep the shape going, but we want to correct it, that it would be round. Make sure you're doing that from both sides because you don't want to spread your ring just on one side. You want it to be even. So that's why we have to turn our ring all the time and hammer it that way. Now we're making sure that our ring would be flat and preparing our ring for filing. Because we need to file a bit of the edge, both of the bands, that we would create the angle where they're connecting. As you can see from the positioning here, we created the angle that they would connect this way, that we would have that flat connection. They're touching fully. Just do smallest amount and check all the time. We want small angle here. Now you can see I'm using 2 third hands. That means we need more heat to heat up the ring. Positioning is not very correct. Sometimes from the heat it moves and we create a bit of the gap that I was experiencing here. So I was going with my copper pliers and just pushing that together while I'm heating the ring. Then I could melt my solder where I want it and use the solder amount that I need. I didn't want to use too much. We don't want our solder would go into engraved band. For that, you could use rouge paste. I used it in one of my videos. I will link that here just to cancel that solder ability to melt there. What we're doing now, we're measuring place where we need to cut from the band that we would have that open, beautiful ring attached with the bezel, but we see the bottom part of the bezel fully. I'm marking from size, then coming on the ring itself. It's way easier to drag extended lines and of course not cut exactly where you have to cut. So even with the lines, you can correct those lines because if we don't have accurate cutting at some point, we would lose. It's way better to correct later on and you can do that with the saw as well. And be careful while you're cutting. You don't want to push on your split shank ring because you will close the gap or you will open it more. We don't want to do that because when you're measuring on the bezel, you don't want to change anything at that point. Then we're sanding everything to the flat point. Of course, it takes a long time if you do that with a sanding belt, but I chose to do it that way. You can begin with files, but files can misshape your split shank ring as well if you're not careful. So you always want to make sure that you're keeping that gap and splitting the same as it is. If you close it a bit, come back and just correct it while you're doing. Okay, now we came to the fun part again. I love soldering, so maybe it's the fun part for me. So now we have to connect our split shank ring with the bezel setting itself. You want everything flat and touching when it comes to soldering. It's not moving anywhere. It's stable on my bezel setting. This time I wasn't using any third hand. You could use third hand where we have that split shank connection because you would isolate that place more, but I was just going by freehand and I'm always working just with the hard solder, so my melting temperature is the same everywhere. So if my solder is melting somewhere in that connected place, probably it will melt again if my heat is the same all around the ring. And my gas at that point ended. You can even hear from the sound how the fire is going. So yeah, just fill your tanks before you're soldering. And I even put more solder in my band as well. This is risky to do, so I wouldn't recommend to come back when you're putting that on the bezel setting. But if you're comfortable in your soldering skills, you can do that for sure. Now we're correcting our band. It's easy to do if you're using the saw. That's why I always say saw is the best tool sometimes that you can use. You can reach places, and if you can't reach places, you can use files, which is a second time saver. We have files that some places are not with the grip, and use that file edge. We have so many different files in the market. I'm using the LARP all the time because I trust the quality, and they're so fine as well that you could really be comfortable in filing. Because some files takes too much of material and we're a bit scared of files. Just don't be scared of it. It's the wrong file if you're scared of it. Now I'm cleaning the inside of the bezel. Yes, we do need to do that. I chose the wrong cylinder to do that because I was out of my good ones. So it went a bit harsh, but it's inside, it's clean, and I smooth it out with another tool. But cylinders are great if you want to clean insides of the bezel. And this is what I mean when I'm talking about directions. While we're moving and sanding with the brush, we need to keep up with the lines we want to create. So if the bezel, I want to create horizontal lines, I'm going with the bezel around like this. Even here, I'm going around the ring like the ring is going. So I'm creating 3D projection here. We're not playing with flat surfaces. We have actual 3D projection when it comes to jewelry making. So you have to think about it the same way. We need to create lines that would complement your piece, not opposite way, not extend lines where we don't need them. So the brush size is extremely important as well, because sometimes you interact with other metal parts. And we're focusing on the pressure as well, because here I'm going very lightly with that blue wheel because we have engraved pattern in the band. So we want to clean it, but we don't want to change it. The pressure is really the key for this. Even with the burnisher, this is the best way I use to clean that split shank ring. Really, you can have a high shine on this part just using burnisher. This is good because we have thick band. If you have thinner places, of course, burnisher will make it sharp because you are burnishing the metal. But if you have thicker band, this is the most effective way I tried. And here I'm showing you how to keep accuracy in your bezel setting using saw. Saw is really the first thing I will grab if I want accuracy, because I'm making the line with dividers. The line will be even from the bottom part of the bezel setting to the top. Because we're soldering, we're doing sanding, our bezel setting won't be the same height. And if I will put that on a flat surface and sand it, we don't have a chance to have even bezel setting. Like, look at the bezel. It looks perfect. You could do that with bigger files as well, but keep in mind, we can round edges pretty quickly with the file. We have to move just straight with the hand. That's pretty hard if you're a beginner to keep the same pressure and go straight with the file. And you know, to cut metal is always better than to file it. So I would choose the saw. And now we're finally setting that beautiful moonstone. I have a video where I'm explaining more how I'm hammering the setting. We're always starting with the corners, and no, hammering will make indentation. If you're doing that well, we still can keep that high shine and clean and sand everything later on. For less sanding parts, I love to use silicone wheels. We have different grits as well. And of course, a stiff brush and a compound. And voila, we have a beautiful moonstone ring. Okay, we're done. We have a very beautiful result. With the setting, you can play around more, for sure. You can create a design, like cut some kind of leaves or flowers on the bottom part of your bezel setting as well. That's very pretty. So it's truly up to you. And your stone, you can use round stone as well for this kind of setting. I have a video on my channel with different styles of split shank ring, different bands as well, different sizes and shapes of the stone. So I will link that down below. So maybe you will find for the stone that you need. So you could play with design and put whatever shape of the stone you would want in this split chunk ring. If you have some questions or suggestions, as always, I'm waiting in the comment section, and I get so many good ideas from you. It's like, it's so good. You keep this channel moving forward for sure. I'm putting vlogs here too, so if you haven't seen my last one, you can check it out. And thank you for the love and support for this channel. It means so much to me. I truly push myself harder and give you projects that would be useful for you and give you life updates too, because this room is still on the process, but we have some updates in the room and I will give that on my other vlog as well. And I'm very excited because I can chat with you, take your ideas, talk about my visions. It's nice, you know? It's nice to talk with someone about jewelry world because you do understand me, which is very nice to have different kind of opinions and have a group of people to chat with. So yeah, I hope you liked it and I will see you in my next one.